And all the incidents of having free and fair elections should be around it.
Now, isn't that why the security operatives are deployed to election areas? But you even faulted that.
Yeah, where you have security agencies more than the voters, would you say that it's better? It is because of, like what you just pointed out, the threat to violence from the beginning, before the elections, 1 month before the elections, 1 week before the elections, and people are intimidated. And when you have such heavy deployment, voters are certainly going to be afraid of their lives, except those that are stakeholders. What I mean by stakeholder, those that feel, oh, my life is not important. People are not going to be there. Election areas, from what we knew in 1999, 2003, 2007, is not supposed to be militarized. And the only way not to militarize it is to show the people that you would be fair to everybody from the beginning, from your conduct. Okay.
Well, Nyota, I think you took that question right out of my lips, because I think the very first question you put to Mr. Ezeala was whether or not he was in Port Harcourt, and he said, how could I go to Rivers? And I think that, we need clarification. Why didn't you go?
The drums of war sounded in Rivers. It's not a place anybody would want to really go. Yes, many people were still there, especially people in the locals who will understand the areas and when the guns are going on, where they are going to hide themselves. That may also be part of it. But, however, not being there does not mean that even up till from that time till now we continued consulting, not just with election observers, but with also voters. What are their feelings of what happened? And many of them felt that that if we continue this way, then Nigeria is heading to somewhere that we cannot really rescue it from. So these are voters talking too, not just the election observers. We look at it from the technical aspects, but the voters are looking at it from the normal aspect, what you call, what does a man on the street think about elections? And with the management, we specifically ask the voters, what is your impression of the umpire? And they said the umpire will either be controlled by the PDP or by the APC. They believe the umpire is not independent. Second thing is it because of fear of their lives? And some of them feels yes, also because of fear of their lives. But however, we think that if the umpire decides to say, and if both parties knows that the umpire is going to be independent, that the level of violence is likely going to reduce. Yeah.
Very important factor in elections. You talked about the drums of war. Recall that INEC conducted this rerun sometime in March and then had to cancel some results and then say they were going to conduct a rerun at a later date. And for a long time, they refused to conduct elections there, citing the security situation, which you seem to be corroborating now with with not going to Rivers because you said that the drums of war were being sounded too loud. Yet we also criticize the heavy militarization. How do you think we could have struck a balance in this situation?
I've already mentioned that if INEC comes up, have a dialogue with the political parties, these various stakeholders, and assure them of the independence of the umpire. Once they do that, and the stakeholders have confidence in INEC, the level of insecurity will certainly go down. Where one of the parties or both parties feel that INEC will be manipulated by the other party, this is the single, just go and check it. APC feels that INEC will be paid by PDP, and they said they were going to protect their votes. PDP felt that APC was going to pay INEC or hijack INEC. They said they were going to protect their votes, and they will be heavily armed. So INEC is now in the middle. Is INEC really ready? Is INEC ready to be transparent? Why don't you call the parties and say, look, how do we go? Let's have your observers, or let's have your agents. These are the results. Everything is clear. Let us move on. And they are moving on. And when you get to the polling booth, people are voting. Everybody in the glare of everything, even if it means deploying cameras, which both parties will sign to. Both parties can sign and say, let us deploy cameras and see who is going to rig this election. Let them come out clean. The umpire should make them to come out clean. They will undertake that, look, let's use cameras and find out who actually will win and who will not win. And these contests will be over. And who is importing violence will be clear for us. So, in some of these areas, because the elections will be coming up now in a short while, I will say, because by next year you're thinking of Osun State, you're thinking of Ekiti State. And if we don't take time now, if we don't take time to build confidence within the stakeholders, the 2019 elections was, because you won't have, how many security agencies are you going to deploy throughout the federation? It's going to be a very big problem. Let's sit down and talk. Let's look at areas that are violent prone and work towards talking to the stakeholders. What are their problems? What do we do? Let's encourage politicians to talk to voters and get their votes and not put their mind down and take their votes by force.
Is it possible to achieve that with the amount of money that seemed to be running within the circles of electioneering in Nigeria?
Oh, it's possible. Why I said this is possible is 2011 and 2015 elections, there was heavy volume of money. Now there is even no money. And we were able to achieve it. I think we achieved it because people had a little bit confidence on INEC. If you look at the elections in these areas in 2011, elections in these areas, yes, there are usually violence in these areas, but the level we are seeing now seems to be higher because confidence is no longer as. Maybe INEC is doing well, but then what is the impression of the people? What is the impression of the voters? What is the impression of the stakeholders? And we have to come back now. That is why we have to come back now and think of a solution to it. If we don't think of a solution to it, I'm afraid that there may be no reverse in 2019. Because you have enough security agencies there now, because there was no election any other place. In 2019, there will be elections throughout the federation. So you won't even have enough of these security agencies to be deployed to rivers.
But what role can the judiciary play in all of this? Let's look at a bit of the laws here. The Electoral Act and the Constitution. What does it say about instigating election violence? What does it say about those that commit electoral crimes and prosecuting them?
Yeah.